Welcome, Florice Hoffman. How are you?
I'm doing good.
I'm excited to be with you today as we start our first episode of the podcast.
Yeah, it's very exciting
Why are we doing this?
to reach more people and tell them about the Democratic Party.
And why a podcast, do you think?
Well, it is a way of connecting with people in a different way than other media.
You know, I think that it's great that we're going to get the chance to talk about things that we talk about all the time, but people kind of wonder, like, what does the Democratic Party do all day?
Yeah, we need more coffee during this so that we can continue to talk.
Yes, I think more coffee always, and more conversation about what we as a party can do to help improve people's lives.
I'm looking forward to that conversation.
Me too. Let's get started. I'm so glad to see you, and I'm excited to be with you this afternoon.
It's always good to see you, Lauren.
Oh, thank you. And you know what's really exciting about this podcast is that we get to talk about some of the stuff that we talk about anyway and share it with our audience of voters and interested people so they can learn about the Democratic Party. So let's just jump into it. I want to know, what is our role, or what is your role in the Democratic Party, and what makes this place tick?
Well, I'm the chair of the Democratic Party of Orange County, and you're the executive vice chair. We do a lot of things together. We make sure we recruit Democrats to run for office. We train Democrats to run for office. We mobilize Democrats to vote for candidates. We do a lot of issue work, whether it be LGBT, ICE. We do a lot of training on issues, and we also do mobilizing on issues.
All right, so you mentioned issue advocacy. So what does a party do that's involved with issue advocacy?
Well, it can be abortion, it can be LGBT rights, it can be environmental rights, it can be immigrant rights. There's all types of issue advocacy that we're engaged in.
And how do we get engaged in it? Like, what does a party do?
Well, either we'll have forums on it, we'll have some kind of political activity, we'll have rallies, we have trainings.
Do our electeds get involved, or like, how does that work?
Our electeds are very involved, and we also work with our electeds to train other electeds about the issues that might come up at the city council or county level.
So it's sort of like we're not just getting Democrats elected, but working through all these issues with them at the same time.
Right. Particularly, I'm going to say that during COVID, we spent a lot of time online talking about the various concerns that electeds had. And it's really important for Democratic electeds to communicate with each other about what they're doing.
Well, yeah, in order to work together as a whole county, right, to make it work.
That's correct.
So I know we have candidates that run and we support them and we endorse them, but people sometimes don't know which candidates come to the county party versus the state party or national. Can you explain sort of what the difference is?
Well, the national is the president, of course. The state party does all the statewide offices, assembly, the state senate, the federal senate, Congress, and we do the local offices. The highest office we have are the county offices.
So local includes like what, for example?
It includes city council, school board, board of supervisors. It includes municipal races, sanitation districts, water districts.
So what I want to know is a little bit about your background and how you got involved in politics. What drove you to be interested in politics and Democratic politics?
Well, I had parents that were interested in politics. So my parents were very involved in the civil rights movement, the Vietnam War, and various things growing up. So they always included us. My father was a union organizer for the Ladies Garment Workers Union, and politics were part of his everyday. And my mother was also involved.
When you say politics was part of their everyday, like, what does that mean?
I'm going to say we probably never had a family dinner where we weren't discussing politics.
And is that because it affects people's lives, or was he literally involved in politics, or you were just talking about them? How did it come to you as a young person?
I'm going to say my parents were very involved in politics. from governor's races in Pennsylvania. I grew up in Pennsylvania, to even integrating the school district where I went to school, Middletown
Wow.
School District. So my parents were always involved.
Integrating the school district. I mean, that's something that some young people might not even think is a thing. But what was that?
Well, I would say that in the 1960s, there were a lot of school districts that either didn't hire African Americans or in my district, my mother brought a lawsuit because they didn't have African American school aides. So they were just always very involved in what was going on in the community.
That's so cool. How did that have an effect on you as a young person? Like, how were you involved?
I'm going to say that as a young person, sometimes you don't like to have the limelight on you all the time, but it always made me understand that we have to stand up for what you believe in. My mother was an immigrant, and she actually came here from Germany, and she thought our society was, I would say, more just than it was when she got here. And when she understood that there was Jim Crow and civil rights issues in the United States, it was something that she didn't really dream of. She thought the United States was for equality.
Wow. I mean, she had like an idealized version of what America could be or should be. And so you ended up doing, I know you, so I know the work you did in labor, but can you share how that brought you to Democratic politics and what was that path?
I would say that my father came from immigrant parents from both Russia and the former Soviet Union, and he was interested in making sure that people got a living wage where they lived, and so he was always fighting for for workers. So both my parents influenced me in what I did, being a union attorney.
How did you get to be a union attorney and an attorney to begin with?
As you know, it's hard work since you're an attorney too. I mean, you have to go to college and law school. But I always had the idea of what I wanted to do. I always knew I wanted to be a union attorney and represent workers.
Did you see the law as being a way to, people have different thoughts of the law. And we see that where people think, oh, the law is like the final say. And then other people see the law as a tool. Like, how did you understand the law as it related to what you wanted to effectuate politically?
When you're the underdog, you sometimes have to change the law. So there's a lot of working for social justice where you have to work harder because really the law is on the side of the employers that have the money. That's how this country is run, and that we're constantly fighting to make the law more just for the underdog.
And I hear you because in my work, it's very much informed by the same kind of approach. And I didn't originally get into Democratic politics until way later in my legal career. But when did you get involved in Democratic politics? I know you were informed, but what about the party?
I'm going to say I wasn't involved in Democratic politics until I moved to Orange County. I was more involved when I lived in LA County. I was more involved with the labor movement and politics through the labor movement. But when I moved to Orange County, I just saw that there was a void, basically because it was a Republican county then, and that
Right.
I felt I got involved in the Democratic Party when I moved here.
Well, what was the party like then? Because we know what it's like now. I mean, at least we have a sense that we've had some great successes. But what was the landscape like then?
When I first got involved in Orange County, I was still living in LA County, but I worked for a union, and we had very few elected Democrats. And I would say that I even got involved before Loretta Sanchez ran for Congress.
Wow.
So that's about the time that I got involved in Orange County, but I didn't move here until maybe 8 or 10 years later.
Okay, so you got involved by how? Did you join the Central Committee or work on a candidate's race?
I think in the beginning, I worked on candidates' races. At the time, it was Loretta Sanchez, Lou Correa, and Joe Dunn.
The OGs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but when I moved to Orange County, I was taken to a Central Committee meeting because they didn't have enough people in my assembly district. And I was told, like, they're meeting tonight. I didn't even know what it was.
What was it?
It was a Central Committee meeting.
Okay.
And I just showed up. And I was nominated that night and got elected the following meeting.
How every race should be, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, we have a lot of folks who reach out to us and ask us, how do I get involved in the party? Or how do I make a difference? I'm passionate about an issue, or I just want to do something. What do you suggest to them? Because we're in a time where people they really want to make a difference. Would it be a path like that? Come to the Central Committee, or what do you think?
I mean, that's one of the things you could do, but we have so many clubs in Orange County that are really involved in the grassroots and recruiting candidates in their area. And we have some amazing clubs, particularly, in South County that have more. The South County women have more than 1,000 members. And we have great clubs in North Orange County and West Orange County, pretty much all over the county. And they do so much. They have rallies, they have fundraisers, they meet candidates, they recruit candidates. They're the backbone of our party.
And can you explain how they work as it relates to our party? What is their role?
Actually, they're chartered by the Democratic Party of Orange County, so they're involved in our endorsement process. They're also involved in recruiting candidates, so we work very closely with them. And for the state party, they have a voice in their endorsements. They also get to vote.
So let's say I'm a young person and I want to get involved, but I don't know where to go. Where should I start?
Well, the Young Democrats are really active in Orange County, and we have several members on our Central Committee that are part of both the Orange County Young Democrats and the California. We have the president of the California Young Democrats that's on our Central Committee, but we also have a youth engagement committee. We have many young people in Orange County that are totally involved and ran and got elected to office. It's amazing. Probably Connor Trout, Ariana Aristigi. There are a lot of young people in Orange County that have run for office and have been successful. But it's hard to run for office, too.
Well, it's hard no matter, how old you are. It's hard to do. But
Yes,
I hear people say all the time, why aren't you doing more to reach young people? Do more to reach young people. And I think they're talking about media, right? I think they're talking about how we communicate. But we have so many young people who are engaged in what we're doing every day. Where's the disconnect there? Why do you think people have a perception that we're not connecting with young voters?
Well, I think they don't know. And also, a lot of young voters aren't voting in elections. And also although we have colleges in Orange County, a lot of them are commuter colleges where the people actually, or they're not, like UCI, where people still are voting where they live and not where they go to school.
Oh, that makes sense. So they're voting where their parents lived or where they registered when they turned 18 or something like that.
But in the last election, as you recall, in UCI, everyone came to vote on the last day. And they didn't even have it. They waited for hours to vote. So it's also something that structurally we don't deal well with young people in general, as an electorate.
Yeah, as a society. The fact that there are hundreds of people waiting in line to vote on the day of an election is probably something we should figure out how to make sure that they can. Right.
But at least in California, you have same-day registration, but it takes longer for the registrar to make sure that it's a valid voter because it has to be checked, and then it has to be counted, which are two different things.
So we love young people engaged in the party, voting, running for office. But I also sometimes think it's good to learn before you jump in and run. We want young folks to run, but we also want to make sure that the people who run are successful. So how do you think we as a party, how do we encourage people to be involved, to learn what they need to learn, but also be successful in their races?
Well, we're trying our best to work with younger people as candidates. And one of the things is that we're starting early. We're going to have candidate training beginning in October. We do have resources available already, trainings from the National Democratic Party, but we want to do something more locally so that people know how to run for office. Also, besides running for office, we have interns that volunteer. Campaigns need volunteers, and also campaigns need people to work on them, paid people. I'm a proponent of paying people to work on your campaign, not just volunteer.
Yeah, well, and it's legally questionable, what people do to some extent, right?
It's also hard for young people
Yeah.
to work on something and not get paid.
Yeah, absolutely. So that brings me to ask you a little bit about when you ran for elected office, because I know when I ran, I got some training. Did you get training?
We had no training in Orange County then.
Okay, so what did you do? And tell us about your race. Tell me, what did you run for? How did it go?
I'm going to say I decided to run for Congress.
What year?
2006.
Against?
Ed Royce.
Okay, tell me about it.
One of the reasons I ran is because he was anti-healthcare for all in California, and he had spent, at the time, which was a lot, over $1 million to defeat a proposition that was on the ballot that lost less than a percentage point. And so I thought, well, someone should run against him so that he has to spend the money in his district. But to get training or to get people to help in those days was very difficult. Like, no one from LA County wanted to do a race.
They didn't want to come behind the orange curtain.
Yeah, they didn't want to do it.
Right.
And I got training with another woman. We went to Emily's List in San Diego for a weekend training, but they didn't even have it in Orange County.
Okay, so you mentioned Emily's List. What's that?
Emily's List is an organization that recruits and trains women to run for office. They've been around since the 1990s.
So did you learn through the Emily's List? How did you figure it out?
We did. We learned a lot through Emily's List. That's more about raising money.
Okay.
And then we went to women's political caucus training in LA. There wasn't one in Orange County either then. And then all the Orange County people that were working on campaigns, they didn't really want to work on the race. So it was harder to find people. But today, Orange County has totally changed since that time.
Yeah, now we have so many people running in seats and so many people wanting to help them get elected. That's really different. And people from outside of Orange County wanting to get involved.
And I'm going to say I did get help from the labor movement because at the time I was the only union attorney running in the whole country. So I did get some help. And I'm going to put in a plug for, at the time, Congresswoman Hilda Solis was very helpful.
That's amazing. Did you run as the union attorney, or how did you frame your campaign?
I know I ran as an attorney. I don't know if I ran as a union attorney. I can't remember. Or a mother. I don't know. I ran about all these things.
Okay. So you mentioned mother. I'm a mom too. A lot of folks who want to get involved and run are mothers. Mm-hmm. What was that like, running for elected office and being a mom and being an attorney, doing all these things at the same time?
Well, just like you, I'm a mother of twins. My kids were always very involved in politics, sometimes not helpful. But they enjoy politics. So, and I would take them everywhere. I'm going to say there are a lot of institutions that don't enjoy you taking your children places, and they don't make it that easy.
How about politics?
It's hard sometimes. There were a lot of people. I used to take them to Central Committee meetings and to Executive Committee meetings for the Central Committee, and it was like, why are you bringing your kids? But I think we've changed a lot since
I think so. I was just telling a candidate at our meet and greet, don't ever not come because you have your kids with you. We'd much rather you come. I mean, this is real life. We want to make an impact on real people's lives. You're only going to do that by being a real person.
Right.
And we like kids. So
right. I mean, I would bring them to union activities too. Not that they always enjoyed it or the people around them either, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, right? This is working people's stuff. So you were a mom running. What did you learn, through running as a candidate in a pretty serious race?
I learned that fundraising is really important. And it was really before there was internet fundraising. So
wow. So how did you raise money? You had to call people?
You had to call people. I had a lot of events. I had a lot of checks. I did pretty well in raising money, but it was before we had an open primary too. We had a Democratic primary, and I had an opponent who ran a lot. So, it was time consuming, but I learned a lot.
Did you learn, lessons that you take with you as the chair now? Like, how did those lessons inform what you do?
Well, I learned that we have to do more training.
Well, that's true.
I
Right.
learned that the Democratic Party has to offer more to candidates, and we have so many things that we didn't have then. We used to do our um, walking with the paper maps, trying to find our precinct.
Yeah.
So now everything's on the phone and an app. It's a lot easier. It's actually, I think it might even be cheaper
Right.
now. And that's things that we offer to candidates, Democratic candidates. We offer them PDI, and we offer them training, and we just offer a lot more than we did then.
I'm glad you bring that up because while we have better technology, sometimes it seems like now we're required to offer more. Our offerings have to be more substantial. So tell me a little bit about how that works. Like, how does a candidate who's endorsed by the party get the chance to use the resources that we have? What's that arrangement like?
Well, there's different things. We actually offer training and the resources even to unendorsed candidates. And then once they're endorsed, they get more. So then you get to be part of what we have something called member to member, where we send out all types of messaging for our candidates, whether it be text messaging, online ads, mail ads. We help candidates do that, and we do it together.
One of the things we always hear people say is, I'm getting so many emails, I'm getting so much mail, and I just throw it away. People complain that they're getting these communications, but why are we doing it? Like, why are we in the cycle where we have the money and we have to spend it this way to reach voters?
Well, it's really the only way to reach voters. I mean, the media market is just too expensive because we're the LA media market. And if people can recall the last races, I saw so many ads for the mayor of LA. I thought I was voting in that election.
Yeah.
And we don't have that many ads for local people.
It's just too expensive.
It's too expensive. So the way to reach people is through mail, through text messaging, through email, and through phone calls. Of course, the best way to reach people is to knock on their door. And that's really what we want candidates to do.
Yeah. So you mean don't just throw their mail thing on their mat and hope for the best?
Yes.
Not the best strategy?
No.
No, I agree, because we need to talk to people. I mean, at the end of the day, the issues that Democrats want to advance are the ones that affect their real lives, right? So if you're knocking on the door in a local race talking about a library or talking about, something like even potholes or bike paths, and you find out that that's what that voter cares about and you can connect with them, right? That's the way that we work together as a community. But I think some people are just scared. Like, we live in a time post-COVID where people don't want to talk to people. They don't want to open the door. So, like, how do we get our folks to do it anyway, and engage with them anyway?
It's actually, when you actually talk to people, it's actually makes you feel better.
I think so.
It makes you feel better to know how much you have in common, because really most people want the same things in their lives. There are not as many polarizing people as you think from being on Facebook or Instagram. Most people care about the same things. They care about their communities. They care about their parks. They care about their streets. They care about traffic. They care about their kids' education. And really, a lot of us have the same values. Yeah. And we have to be able to show that we are going to do something about it.
We do. I read something today in the news where a billionaire said that Democrats aren't succeeding because they're focusing only on our opponents instead of talking about the issues that really impact people's lives. And I don't disagree with that. I think we have to do both. We have to talk about what our opponents, who they are and what they stand for, but also talk about how we can impact people's lives as Democrats, why our policies are better for their lives.
Yeah, and I think we haven't done a good job on selling our policies. Because, the Republican Party has not increased minimum wage at the federal level in decades. And most people care about their wages. I mean, in California, we have it different because we have different labor standards, but most of the country is still at a minimum wage of $7 an hour.
So how do we explain, though, when people say, well, when the Democrats were in charge, they didn't increase it?
Well, I mean, part of it is Congress, and when we have very close numbers, and we're all, it was very difficult to pass things. I mean, Biden actually passed a lot.
Yeah. So what do you think Democrats have done in the last, 10 years that's impacted our lives in a positive way?
There's so many things that we've done.
Your top favorites.
My top favorites, I don't even know if I can go. Can I go more than 10 years? I'm going to say that the Family Leave Act probably impacted parents and workers one of the most, and that was Clinton.
That's a Family Medical
Leave Act.
Okay.
We have it in California too. We have our own. But I'm going to say that when I had my kids, there was no Family Leave Act. There was a pregnancy leave law in California that was on hold by the court. So today, people can have children, can attend to their sick parents.
And not lose their jobs.
Lose their jobs. Yeah. You'd lose your job. Right. The other thing is the ACA, better known as Obamacare. It really did a lot for people. And what Biden did by actually negotiating with drug companies for Medicaid, really important. And I don't think we do enough in telling people the important things that Democrats pass and that Republicans are against.
Well, tell me more about the ACA. What did it do?
Well, the ACA brought health care to millions of people. One of the things is that for the first time, everyone has access to it. It also made it so that students could stay on their parents until they're 24. It also provided Medi-Cal actually provides students while they're in school, and many students can't work while they're in school. Like if you're in training, even to be a teacher in California, you're required to work a year, 40 hours a week at a school district and not get paid. Are you supposed to not have health care at the same time? So all of these things, it created access for people with disabilities. It created access for so many people. And when we hear from the Republicans, like our Republican Young Kim, we hear that the cuts are not going to affect people. They're affecting real people. They may not affect them this year because they don't want us to know what their effects are. So it will affect people on disabilities. The working poor are the biggest beneficiaries of the ACA. People who work less than 30 hours a week in part-time jobs are beneficiaries of the ACA. People who are laid off from work are beneficiaries. All of that is really important. And students take up 7%. We hear a lot from Republicans that somehow undocumented people are getting Medicaid, but that's strictly paid for by the state because we don't want people to be living in our country and spreading diseases either or not having access to health care. Only a few states do it, and it has nothing to do with the cuts that they're making. They're already going to cut rural hospitals with the cuts that they did.
So it sounds like for everybody who's not working a full-time job with an employer who provides healthcare, everybody else should be able to access health insurance through the ACA.
Right.
And it's not that easy always to get from a part-time job to a full-time job.
Just think of I'm a small employer, you're a small employer. Prior to the ACA, I had a hard time getting health care because my mother had ovarian cancer. She died very young. So that pre-existing condition in my family stopped me from getting health care. Without the ACA, I would not have health care.
When I left the county government, I have asthma, and I was told there was no amount of money that I could pay for to get health insurance. I was just completely denied health care. And it really wasn't until I found an obscure bar association that offered health insurance that I was able to cobble together a plan until the ACA passed in that year in between. So yeah, people really are affected by not being able to seek health care and now the costs. So healthcare, yes. But what about affordability or other issues in this state?
Well, it's really important. I have two younger adults, and they can't afford to buy a house in Orange County. And rents are really high also. So we need to have more housing. We need to locate it better. We need it closer to transportation. Public transportation is a very big issue in Orange County. We don't have as much as LA or San Diego County. And all of that affects affordability and where people come to live.
Yeah, I mean, some young people just say everything just costs too much.
And they're right.
Right? I mean, they're talking about from the cost of housing to the cost of gas to the cost of food, right? How do we as Democrats address their concerns?
Well, I think one of the ways we address the concerns, and I know people don't want to talk about it, but the cost of a college education is much higher today than it was when I went to school. Even our public colleges, our kids have a lot of debt, which also makes it harder to buy a house or even rent an apartment. If you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, a teacher, all of that is grad school, and we need to make it more affordable for both our colleges, the debt, and then we have to offer housing in some of these places. You know, to get more teachers to move to Orange County, we are going to have to do something about it. Firefighters, police, it's too expensive.
So from young people to working people and even seniors, right? Like we find seniors who live on fixed income are also pressed by the costs.
And I think if you look at housing, people losing their housing is the first thing that ends up being homeless or unhoused. It's the people that can no longer afford to live in the community where they actually lived. And older women are one of the biggest risk of losing their housing.
Why is that?
They can't afford it on their own, and they live longer.
Yeah. So we have a lot of challenges as to affordability as Democrats in this state. But what can we do at the county level?
There's so much you can do at the county level, from the county supervisors to the cities, to just make it easier to build housing. And I know a lot of people don't want housing in their backyard, but actually there's less traffic when there's housing where you live and you work than if you have to commute.
Right. And people also want to keep, their kids and their grandkids in their community and nearby for their quality of life.
Yeah, it's hard. A lot of our kids are not going to be able to live in Orange County.
So what can we do about that?
What we can do is elect candidates that are going to do something about affordable housing. And we're probably going to have to start with the governor's race all the way down to make sure that there's affordable housing in California and access. And some of that is even access to loans.
So aren't there cities that are offering loans? Have you heard about that?
I've heard some cities, but it's not enough, offering $20,000 or $100,000 when you're talking about probably over $1 million.
Right. And the cost of the property is so much.
That's right.
So we do have to build more. I mean, there's no way around this.
There's no way. We're going to have to continue to build more.
Yeah. And I think when we do that, we have to look at all of these things comprehensively, making sure that the laws work so that people are able to build and they're able to do it in a streamlined way, but also make sure affordable housing is part of that.
Yeah. And I think I see a lot of trends to taking business locations where people now can work at home and commute less, to turning those into housing is also important. And there are some places that are doing it better than others. We even have that in Orange County where we have less rentals of business properties.
So are you for work from home?
I think work from home actually does help in terms of, first of all, making sure that you aren't on the ground commuting, less gas, better for our environment.
I personally am. But yeah, I mean, you can see that young people also have had different experiences, right? They went through COVID. Some of them did their education online. And I was just reading a headline not that long ago that said it was a candidate who had run and said, I think that the COVID changes are going to stick. And everyone was like, no, boo, we're all going to go back to work. But we see so many benefits of being able to work remote. Like you said, environmental, balancing your work-life stuff.
It's even cheaper for business and government for a lot of jobs that you work at home. And I'm going to say I'm more productive at home. When I used to go to the office, I spent a lot of time commuting. But then when I got to the office, I did spend a lot of time talking to my coworkers.
Socializing?
Yeah, I socialized a lot at the office. wrote my briefs at night when no one was around.
That's
so.
not a good policy, right? So, no, but I agree with you because some of us just do work better when we're focused and we don't have to worry about, like, I have to get dressed a certain way or I have to, plan this commute and figure out all my childcare to the degree. But I think that sometimes people don't think that Democrats hold these positions, right? They think that we aren't looking for efficiency and we aren't looking for ways to cut costs, but we are.
We are. I mean, there's more and more of, as you know, there's more court that's online. There's more hearings online, and it actually is better for everybody.
It is because working people don't have to miss as much by planning to spend the whole day there. Being able to do even, I would say, certainly critical doctor's appointments, you need to go in person, but being able to do telehealth for some things and mental health makes it more accessible for everybody.
Yeah, we still have to go to the DMV probably in person to take the test.
That's one I'm going to vote to give us more access online.
Yeah, and also bring back Saturday hours for the DMV. But for other functions of government, it is easier online than to show up at the Social Security office and wait in line. It's easier to do it online.
I think we've got a vision for the future. And I don't think that AI and all these things are going to replace everybody. I think we're looking for tools that we can use to make the economy work better, not just for businesses, but for the consumer, for everybody, so that we don't have to spend as much time in the car.
Yep.
So what would you like to see, if you were in charge of everything that that the legislature and Congress passed, what kind of things would you like to see? What are your Democratic, platform values?
I'm going to say that one of them probably would be healthcare for all, and bringing down the costs, whether we do it with Medicaid for all, but our private system of healthcare is not working. Even in one of the richest counties in the United States, Orange County, have people tried to call and get a doctor or a new doctor? You can't even get an appointment. So if we're one of the richest counties, what do you think it's like in an area where people aren't rich? So, the access to healthcare is really important. Access to mental health care. Of course, I want labor law reform. We've needed labor law reform for a really long time, making it easier for workers to stand up for their rights. And we need there's so many things that we need to do. We need immigration reform. We need comprehensive immigration reform. We don't need to demonize people. We need a way for people legally to come to this country and contribute to this country and to not be exploited. And it hasn't taken place since Reagan.
Yeah, and we're seeing that more and more, reading about what's happening even here in Orange County. And it's scary. We also saw under Trump women's rights being rolled back too.
Yeah.
So it really does make a difference who's elected.
It makes a difference, and it's very difficult to unwind what the courts do. So, people haven't cared enough about the courts. And as you can see, the courts are very important.
So we're the county party here, right? We handle the local races. And we talked a little bit about who that is, what seats those are. But why is it important for folks to be involved in what's going on locally?
Well, we saw it. I live in Orange Unified. We saw it in Orange Unified when the right wing was in charge of our schools. They actually didn't even attend our schools, the people on our board, but they wanted to destroy our schools.
How?
Well, they were closing down the online library. They were going through all the curriculum to make sure that it met their version of what people should be taught. They fired a superintendent in the middle of winter break for no cause. They said that they had the right to fire someone for no cause, and they didn't have to give any notice.
Wow.
So, most of us who have our kids in public school, it's hard enough to afford a house in Orange County and to let alone pay for private school on top of it. So one of the reasons people live here is because the schools are good. But if we're going to have an agenda that undermines our schools, that hurts our housing prices too. And it's important that we understand that the schools are places to educate our children.
Yeah, they're for children, right? They're for their benefit. But we saw such an amazing success in Orange, right? That was such a great campaign of parents and local folks just getting together to say, enough, we don't want you touching this. So what did the party have to do with that?
Well, the party reached out to Democrats, and there were a lot of nonpartisan groups that reached out to other people. Labor reached out to labor, teachers reached out to teachers, and it was just a good way of working together to protect our schools and our students from basically right-wing propaganda.
You saved it. Basically, everybody came together and saved it. So now I want to ask you about Huntington Beach, because that was a recent victory that Orange County had. Tell me a little bit about those efforts. What did the party do there?
Well, the Democratic Party worked with its allies to reach Democrats to vote in that election, where the main organizations in protecting the library reached out to no party preference and Republicans that are in favor of actually having libraries that aren't privatized and where we don't ban books. I mean, I want my kids to read. I used to go to the library with them to pick out the books,
which is what parents should do.
Right.
Right.
My kids would read the books that we picked out together. I don't know what parents are worried about. I mean, most of the time you have to get your kids off the video games, so you want them to read.
Right, if they can find a book that interests them. But I think that was an issue that was pretty much constructed to get people upset about something.
Basically, and the Democratic Party wants to work with candidates, and we also want to, one of the things about recruiting them early is also to vet them.
Yeah, tell me about that.
We want to have better quality candidates too. We want to make sure that, we have parents and teachers and everyone involved in the process so that we have, better candidates running for office. We just don't want any Democrat.
So tell me, what makes somebody a better candidate? I mean, is it what they do for a living, or is it their experience or their approach? Like, what do you think makes somebody an ideal candidate?
I mean, I think it's a combination of things, but it's basically being in touch with the issues in your community, knowing people. Having a job is also helpful, all kinds of things. So, but basically candidates that are going to have the ideals of the Democratic Party and those values.
I see sort of different camps of folks running for office. There's sort of these organic people that come from the community. They worked on some issue or item or that impacted their lives, and they say, you know what, I want to make a difference, and I think I should run. And then sometimes I see a different camp of people who think that somehow being in politics is like going to help either their business or get them famous or things like that. I think I know your answer, but which folks tend to be more successful in their races?
Probably the first group of people.
Well, because people can tell, right?
People can tell if you're authentic and if you're trying to promote yourself versus promoting the values of the community.
And so we do things like meet and greet so that we can get to know the people who are thinking about running or who've already decided, you know what, I don't know this process, but I want to be involved in it. What should I learn? So in that way, we sort of reach out to them, but we also want people to reach out to us, right?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we have a lot of resources. I think the first place you want to reach out is to your clubs and to get involved, because it's better to be already involved in the Democratic Party. Not that, we can't have someone just out of the blue call and be the greatest candidate.
Right.
But it's good to be involved in your community before you run for office.
And so where do people find these clubs?
We have them on the internet. You can find them on the internet. We have a listing of clubs. We also have lots of things that you can volunteer for, and interns in the office, or work on other campaigns, or work on issues.
So let's say that I decide, you know what, I'm passionate about something in my city. I reach out. Do I reach out to the club? Do I reach out to you? Who do I reach out to? What do I do?
Well, you can reach out to us, or we also have staff at the office. You can email us and we'll reach out to you too. And
do you think that, I always think that it's important for those folks to get to know the party, share their data with us, like tell us this is how my fundraising is going. This is who's working on my team. I think it has to be a two-way street to be successful, so we can help them. win, right? What are your thoughts about that kind of communication?
Yeah, we need all kinds of communication. And it's better to start early, too.
Definitely better to start early. I know I've heard some people say, oh, I'm going to surprise my opponent and announce at the last minute. How's that usually work out?
I mean, it's probably worked out once or twice in Orange County, but it's been people who have done it before. Like I know of some candidates that ran against an incumbent at the last minute, but that were successful. But normally you have to raise money and get people to know you. You'd have to already be pretty well known or have already started in some way to start at the last minute because people don't know you. They know the incumbent.
Right. If they know your name, and more likely to tick that box.
Right.
So you and I sit around a lot of the day and talk about these type of issues. But if people want to learn more about these types of things, hopefully as they tune into the podcast in the future, they'll get to hear from other guests that we're going to bring on. People who've been successful in this county running and not just winning, but then leading and serving in their area. So we'll continue the conversation so folks who are considering running or want to get involved get to learn more through this process. I'm excited to do this podcast with the party and bring on our Dems because it's time for us to reach out to voters in new ways. And I hope that by doing that, we can help more folks get past the finish line.
You're right. And also people have to understand that sometimes you don't win the first time.
Yeah, well, tell me about that.
Well, we had a lot of candidates in Orange County that ran the first time and lost and then came back and won, or some that won and then lost. But you learn a lot about what you have to do by also losing.
You do. I mean, I ran for office and I lost, but I got to take that and bring it to the party and help other people win. And at the same time, it takes so much in order to win a race. And it takes so much for people to know who you are. If you start from scratch, it may take a couple years to get to know the voters and to get to know all the stakeholders who may have an impact in your success. So I agree with you. Sticking it out and knowing this might not be just a 2-year plan, but a 4-year plan or more.
Right. You have to have perseverance, too, when you're working in politics. So, and sometimes you don't win. You can't just take that to heart to go back into your closet and not come out again.
Right? I know. I'm going to go under the covers. I'll see you again in another couple years, right? I mean, it might feel that way after a loss, but at the end of the day, politics isn't just a race, right? It's like a long game. And if we want to see the changes that we want to see in the world and in our society, we got to stick it in for the long run.
Yeah, and it always makes me feel better to continue the work, even after a loss.
Of course. Yeah. Well, because there's so much to do. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, Chair Hoffman.
Thank you, Lauren.